Hey YouTube, my name is Steph, and today I want to give you just a quick kind of breakdown of one of these images that I made. I love making just like either game art or fantasy art or something like that, or Star Wars inspired stuff, or like this one is Witcher inspired stuff. It's posts I just want to do for Instagram and just for like friends and like fans. So I made this from scratch, except for the background. I've done the background, and I was able to take some of somebody else's eyes and kind of incorporate them into mine here. But I'm going to give you a quick breakdown on how this works. I hope this video is not too long, but I did want to break it down kind of piece by piece. I'm not going to go through every single step in terms of like the process of I'll go through the general process, but I'm going to attach links to all of these techniques. Any of these techniques that you're going to learn today are all going to be from probably different eras. Most of them are from Flern.com. So if you follow them on YouTube or follow their YouTube channel, they have awesome stuff, like things on how to do this high pass filter where the skin is just like super high contrasty, very that sporty, super sharp look. Things like just touching up some of the eyes. I'll show you how, as well as adding this tattoo here. That's totally fake tattoo. I don't have a tattoo like that of The Witcher. On how to incorporate the tattoo, I'll put all the links in the description below and how I did that. But let's just go through like part one. You have to start at the base. So let's just start right from the itty beginning here. Oops, I'm gonna take this Halloween. Okay, super great. So basically what I did was I set this thing up in my base. We have to start with the base. If you don't have a good picture to work with, then you're automatically going to fail. It's not going to happen. So I'm just going to show you, if you looked at this tutorial, well, this is Flern.com, by the way. So they have like awesome tutorials on how to do stuff, but I'll give you a couple more directed links in the description below on all the ones that I use for creating mine. But they are great help. If you don't follow Flern, you don't use Photoshop, like they are the best way to get started into Photoshop with all the basics. Okay, I did this image. This was a test image. And the way that I did it was I set up this V flat. Yeah, like crazy. Yeah, not any better stuff. So basically what I did was I set up this V flat. It's basically just two boards. It's a height of my basement, so it's 8 feet high. I have a window here and a window here, and it's called rim lighting, where a light source hits you from both sides. You want to stand fairly far forward because from here, you don't want it to light up your face, the front of your face. You want it to be a shadow in front of your face. I also have set up on this tripod in front of my lens is a ring light or a lens light. So it's just a ring of light that shoots from around my camera. So it's 3 light sources, one on this side, one on this side, and one from the ring light. And I'll show you what it does, what it creates. So from here, I did the exact same thing that I did the other image. So this is the one window, this is the other window. It's very much near sunset. You don't even have to do it in broad daylight. In fact, I find that you almost get better dynamic light, a little bit of orange, a little bit of blue when it comes to close to sunset. But here we go. You see this little dabber of light in my eyes. I explained in that tutorial that's where it comes from. This little light source right here, as well as this little bit of light that's on my forehead in the front of my face. That comes from that rim light there, that ring light. So all I had to use was a T3i, very simple shoot. I shot on RAW, and I shot with just a low frame rate, something that will pick up all this light. Shoot at a 400 ISO, and just try and get as much light as you can. And I just kept taking pictures till I knew I had what I needed. So you could just use a remote and just pop and shoot them. Okay, so I started with that. I added this high brightness just so that when I go to cut this thing out, I can see what this is. So when I do the selection tool, grab the layer that I want to be on and just start selecting away. So when you do that, at least I can see that it'll grab, all the little hairs and stuff that I want to keep. I'm not too concerned about bleeding over because it's all going to blend into the background. Okay. So do that. Make a copy of it. I just kept this as the original copy in case I screwed up anything. So this was my selection here. Yeah, it's pretty rough, eh? Really, really rough. But that's all I needed. So, let's just go back here. So I just selected a picture. This is not mine. I grabbed it from the internet, just somewhere where, I don't know, I just thought it was cool. And I was going to use it as subtle, just the subtle trees in the background wasn't going to be my focus. But it's just an Instagram picture, it's just for friends and family. So it's just kind of fan art. So I just took somebody's fan art and I made it happen. The first image I have here is myself, but I'm not blending into the background. I'm not too concerned about that, because later on, as I add filters and effects, I know that it'll slowly and gradually blend into the background, and I can just adjust it later if it really doesn't fit. Okay, so the first one I just put here myself, but I have too much color in my skin, so I just added a copy with a little bit more subdued. If you want to do it to only one layer, grab your layer, go up to image adjustments here, and then just do hue and saturation and bring it down to almost 0. Not 0, just something that's comfortable. As well, what I did was I got ahead of the game because I knew I was going to adjust the pupils, but not the whites of my eyes. I want to glow a little bit more. So all I did was I took this tool right. I took the dodge tool. Yeah, dodge tool. And I just ran it over and made maybe a bigger selection here. 13, maybe some slightly bigger than that even, and I just start dodging it, and it adds this kind of glow effect. Okay, your eyes, and I'll get to the eyes in just a second. This will be the eyes, like group 2. Those are the eyes, which I can get to at this point because I pretty much jumped straight into, before even adding, like taking away the color. I think I took the color away just a little bit, just to subdue it. And then from here, I just grabbed some eyes. I think it was like somebody who had posted something on YouTube, and they were just giving a whole list of eyes away. And so I wasn't too like, they were kind of giving them away, and I just wanted to use something so I didn't have to create from scratch. But I adjusted it a lot because his eyes, they look too flat. There was not enough color dynamic range in the eyes. So what I did was I kept this black spot is the original eye that I have here. It's my original, it's all the original black from my actual pupil, including this little white spot, and this little white spot were also from the original. That's, you know, this layer, the eyes that I actually used here. See here? See that? That white spot is still the original. And when I took this, it was fairly flat. There was not this like range of color around the pupil. So what I did was I just slanted them. I just slanted them slightly just to be in line with my head. And then what I did was the exact same thing as I did here. I just took a dodge and a burn. I made it super fine, like very fine, like this fine. And then you slowly click and you start adding lines, and you start adding like little lines to the eyes and making this kind of the dynamic range in the eyes. The more that you have that dynamic range from this white spot to this dark right beside it, all these little veins that kind of happen. I learned that from Flern actually, to dodge and burn eyes to just add more range of color. The more range of color you have, the more realistic it's going to look. So since that was the only layer right there that had that, that's why I dodged and burned the eyes from the actual original layer down here. Okay, and that was pretty much it. I just started fading some of the edges until to taste. Okay, so then I took this whole layer, and 100% was just too much. What it looked like, I don't know if you can actually, not much. Put it back to 72. Oops. 0% to 72, and that's good. 100% was just too much. And as well, you can see that even within this group, I think these ones are at like 61%. So I dimmed these down as well, just because it was a little bit too harsh. In the grand scheme of things, you never want to stay this close. You want to start backing off from your image and see what it looks like. If it's too much, reduce it. Okay. So this is what my end result ended up being like. I had just a little bit more shadow on this layer. I just want a little bit more, tiny bit more. I did the same effect. I just copied it, added a little bit more hue and saturation, and I just darkened it a little bit. These next 3 layers right here are scars. Okay. You can honestly, at a range on Instagram, you'll never see this ever. But it's that little group of detail that I want to add. And this is just a black scar around the eye. Okay. So I created first one here, and I'll show you the tutorial on how to do that. I'll give it to you down below. I'll just call it scar. And here it's just on how to do this. Just blurred edges. You don't want it to be too harsh. You want to blend with the skin. But I wanted to make it look like almost like his pores or something underneath. It's almost like it breathes black underneath there. I don't want blood. I just want it to be so rotten and over time that it just looks like it just has that evil effect that he got scratched across the eye. It has, it kind of goes in the same direction as the pupil in the eye, so it feels really cool. And I just made copies of it and started taking away some of the other stuff here. So I just this is probably the top end of here, or probably even the bottom end here, and I start blending it away. As well as I had this one right here that just came underneath. Yeah, I actually bled into the eye there, which I didn't even realize that I was doing. So if I go in here, this one, wait, some of this. I think it's the right. Yeah. Gonna take away. Oh, way. Oops. Black on there. Take some of it away. I don't want too much on there. I don't want to go into my eye, obviously. Oh, that's some live changes. Okay, sweet. So this is the scar. Let me just take it off before. And then I just added some of it to it. Just I wanted to see how it was. I wasn't like a huge fan of what the results were. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I was going to do one on like the chest, on my chest here. But I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just wanted just a little hint, just that extra little bit that nobody will really notice, but maybe you would. Okay, here's where the magic happens. This is pretty cool the way that it is. Whenever I watch people's tutorials, I'm like, hey, it's good, don't touch it. But this is where really the magic happens. My skin is way too bland. It's too soft. From this range here to this range here, it doesn't have that sporty, edgy, sharp look. So what I did was, I'll show you the tutorial from Flern on the range of high pass filters, called high pass filters, and what that adds. This is before, this is after. It adds this kind of moonlight, gritty, edgy, sharp look that makes sports illustrations so cool. You never want to do that for wedding pictures; it's not going to work. But you want to add this kind of edgy sharpness. You'll see some of the you'll see some of the sharpness in my skin and in the hair and everything that's going on here. You want to make sure you have a huge dynamic. You have a good amount of range from the fine details to just the general chest. So that tutorial will teach you how to get that range. So do it to taste, because honestly, I think, yeah, I even put this to 71% here just because it was way too much. I'll show you again. 100%. That's too much for me. I didn't like it. I reduced it to 71. Okay. So do it to taste. You can do as many copies as you want and change. He'll teach you how to change it, convert it to smart object right here in order to use a smart filter so that I can literally go and change it. This one's at 400 pixels radius. I have one at like 800. I have one at like 85 or 75. He'll teach you how to do that, but I do definitely a high pass filter. That's actually the trick. That is actually the name of the game. So I had this here. This is where I was. And I was like, okay, what's the problem here? Okay, first of all, I'm not quite blending into the background the way that I want to, but I have there's a lot of detail and a lot of coolness factor in my face. I knew that I was going to vignette around here just to make myself blend into the background a little bit more. There's just too much bare chest. There's too much nothingness. I need something to make it a little bit more badass. So I decided to add this tattoo here onto my chest. Instead of I have a buddy who has the actual crest for Witcher. I actually wish I would have had it at this point, but no big deal. I'll just add a tattoo. So I found this one image, put it on here, put it onto my chest. I didn't like the red eyes. I wanted that blue tattoo-ish factor. I just changed the color by adding, the curves actually just added some of the white to make it blend into my skin more, so it doesn't look like just a blob of color. I wanted to just take away. Wow, it's so subtle. I basically don't need this one. I could add a little bit more, but I brought it back, so I'm just gonna keep it on. And I clipped it to this mask, just so it only affects this one. But that tutorial will teach you everything you need to know. Okay. The next one, I just took some of the color away. I just put a hue and saturation. I could have just taken this layer, clicked up here onto image adjustments, and then hue saturation, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to do a clipping mask. It was easier for me to see visually. But I made this kind of bluish factor. This kind of all around makes it more badass. I think that you can see a little bit too much of the chest here. So later on I'll add a vignette. I already know that. This is what it looks like with the vignette. Just taking away some of that harshness color, bringing a lot more detail to my face. The last thing that I really wanted to get to do was add just kind of these red flame pixel, kind of like blowing ambers, so to speak. So I just went online, found as many like either bokeh ambers or just different types of detail ambers. This one's the exact same image. I just flipped it around and added some more detail on that side. I added some warmth to make it look like I'm almost walking towards a fire or something flaming of some kind. And it popped just some of that background, some of that deep red forest. So it didn't look too much blue. I had some blue here. I had to add something from my eyes to make my everything kind of coordinate and be good to go. So this is what it looks like before the vignette. I need to kind of blend in with the background a little bit more. So I added this vignette to just kind of tie in the background with me. Again, I think it was just too much detail here. And since then, I brought it back quite a bit. I used to have way too much. I had darkened it even more. It was just too much. And then I added just kind of the Witcher logo, which I didn't mind, but I didn't really want to go that route. I kind of liked it, but at the end of the day, I wanted to make something for Halloween. So I added just Happy Halloween on there. No, I post this image for Halloween, but I also want to add a hint of Witcher. So I added the logo in there. Part of Halloween, just centered them together. That is literally it. I mean, going from here all the way back to the beginning, I'll just show you from the beginning. This is my original picture. I knew what it was going to look like at the end. Well, sort of. I knew what I wanted to do. I've done this tutorial before. I've done it before where I kind of tweak it to get these high pass filters, which I've done before, which I really, really liked. Now I want to really draw that Witcher look. So before, all the way to after. Cool, eh? Pretty neat. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to put all the links in them below on how to do the tattoos, how to do the high pass filters, how to do these scars, the eyes. I'll give you an eye tutorial, very, very similar, but a little bit different on how to do that. And hope you guys enjoyed it. Okay, see you guys.